$65 billion. That's the number everyone remembers about Bernie Madoff, the largest Ponzi scheme in human history. And it's a lie inside a lie. Most people believe Madoff was a criminal genius, a man so brilliant he fooled Wall Street, regulators, and the smartest investors on Earth for decades with a scheme no one could possibly have caught. Here's the truth. Someone caught it. He wrote it down, mailed it to the government, and titled it, "The World's Largest Hedge Fund is a Fraud," 3 years before the collapse. To understand why it worked, you first need to understand what Madoff was. Not a fringe operator, a Wall Street institution. Bernard Madoff served as chairman of the Nasdaq Stock Exchange 3 separate times in 1990, 1991, and 1993. He helped shape modern electronic market structure. Regulators consulted him on how markets should function. His firm was a legitimate market-making powerhouse. When Bernie Madoff said he had a system, you didn't ask for the paperwork. He was the paperwork. Start with the number itself, because even that is fiction. The $65 billion you've heard about wasn't money. It was the total balance printed on customers' account statements, a figure that included years of profits that never existed. The actual cash investors lost was about $17.5 billion in principal. Still enough to destroy charities, pension funds, and retirees who had handed him everything they had. Some lost their entire life savings. The $65 billion was just ink. What was real was the wreckage. The deeper you look, the stranger his trades become. For one feeder fund, Madoff's statements claimed positions in options markets that exceeded the total number of contracts in existence worldwide. Not a clever trade, a mathematical impossibility on paper. Anyone who checked the public numbers could have seen it. One man did. His name was Harry Markopolos, a financial analyst who tried to replicate Madoff's returns and found they were physically impossible. He had first raised concerns with the SEC as early as 2000. In 2005, 3 years before the collapse, he submitted a detailed report listing 29 specific red flags and named the fraud in the title. He didn't hint. He didn't speculate. He laid out the math. They had everything they needed. They did nothing. The failure wasn't a near miss. The SEC's own Inspector General found the agency had received 6 substantive complaints about Madoff over 16 years. They opened multiple examinations, and never once did the single thing that would have ended it instantly: verify his trades with the Depository Trust Company, the central clearinghouse where real trades are recorded. One phone call would have shown that Madoff's billions in transactions never happened. They never made it. The regulator built to catch this caught nothing. So how did he keep the illusion alive? Not with supercomputers or financial wizardry. On the 17th floor of Manhattan's Lipstick Building, hidden from the legitimate trading business upstairs, sat an old IBM AS 400, a machine already considered a relic. That dusty box generated the fake account statements and trade confirmations that fooled the world. The greatest financial fraud in history ran on hardware you could have found in a discount warehouse, and the trades themselves were forged by hand. 2 back-office employees, Annette Bongiorno and Joanne Krupi, were convicted in 2014, and testimony exposed the method. They fabricated trades by backdating them, using historical stock prices from the Wall Street Journal and other public sources. They'd pick a date, look up what a stock did, then buy it in the past at the perfect price. Time travel with a newspaper, consistent lying for decades, and a regulator that never looked. The mechanism of collapse matters as much as the collapse itself. As the 2008 financial crisis hit, investors rushed to withdraw. Madoff faced roughly $7 billion in redemption requests he couldn't meet, because a Ponzi scheme has no real assets. It pays old investors with new money, and when new money dries up and withdrawals spike, there's nothing left. In December 2008, he confessed to his sons that the whole business was one big lie. They reported him to authorities. The FBI arrested him on December 11, 2008. On March 12, 2009, he pleaded guilty to 11 federal felony counts. On June 29, 2009, Judge Denny Chin sentenced him to 150 years, the absolute maximum. Chin called the fraud extraordinarily evil. Madoff died behind bars at a federal medical center in North Carolina on April 14, 2021, still serving a sentence that would have outlasted him many times over. The most surprising twist isn't the punishment, it's the recovery. Most Ponzi victims get pennies. Madoff's trustee, Irving Picard, clawed back more than $14 billion of the roughly $17.5 billion in real principal, a recovery rate above 80%, almost unheard of. The single largest piece came from a $7.2 billion settlement with the estate of investor Jeffrey Picawa. The fake $65 billion vanished. The real money, the actual cash people lost, most of it eventually came back. So here's what Madoff really proves. The most expensive fraud in history wasn't unstoppable. It was caught in writing years early and ignored. A man with a 29-point warning and a newspaper and old computer scheme so primitive it should embarrass us. The $65 billion was never the lie. The lie was that no one could have known. They could have. They were told. They looked away. If this story rewired how you see Wall Street and the people meant to police it, subscribe and watch the next one, where we trace another empire that hid its rot in plain sight.